All right, good afternoon. Today is February 24th, 2022, and just a massive uptrend today. Or I shouldn't say massive. Well, yeah, I should say massive because that's about 175 points. Let's look at the daily chart. You know, Mack likes to look at that, and super bullish bar. So we could be bouncing off that level of support that Mack has showed us in his videos. If you watch those, we could be, but at the same time we could also be in a channel. I don't have my toolbar up, but that looks like we could be in a channel down. So just be aware of what's going on. So a lot of good movement today. If you stuck with the bias and were patient, you should have been good. It got choppy around here, you can see, and around here, but I think there were some really good entries that you should have been able to catch. Hopefully, I don't think I missed anything, but you can see in the overnight, big move down. And this is one thing I want to say is this is why don't pay attention to the news, you know, because then you'd be coming in at 5 a.m. thinking that, you know, we're just going to guaranteeing yourself that there's going to be another leg down because, you know, this Russia invasion, and then you'd be looking to go short and thing reverses on you. So you want to remove biases like that. But anyway, we went down in the overnight and then we just chopped around. You can see it's probably a range here. When we formed this channel down, and then by the time we come in around 5 o'clock, actually this trade set up right at 5 o'clock. Excuse me. The only reason I marked this aggressive is because you would not have had this trend channel drawn at that time. This is a second entry short, but all these dojis, I don't know. It feels like an aggressive trade, one that I have to mark green. But it is a second entry short. And you get this lower high if you were hesitating to pull the trigger right there. But the lower high is probably more aggressive because you're going into these lows. But those trades worked. You get a first entry, failed second entry right here. It's off the short-term channel. That's what I like about it. But with the bias being so heavily down at that point, I'm not too crazy about that. And then you can see we start to trend up, but we're really still just chopping back and forth, and we're really ranging. So I don't see any reason to go long here or here. Because this trend channel wasn't confirmed yet. But we make this really strong leg up, break, and we're still just chopping back and forth. But you can see when we make this higher low, you get a feeling that something's happening. But we still don't know. So when you get this failure, that sets up really well, and that looks like a channel down. That's an extremely good signal bar. I'm taking that personally. And we form this level of support, and again we have higher lows. So when you get that double test right here, it sets up below the EMA, so I'm not too crazy about that. That's one you might consider. Not really sure. Yeah, I mean, you can't really take that according to the rules, I don't think, but it's clearly testing that price level a second time, if not a third time. So then we bounce out of there, we go higher and far away from the EMA, so we get this strong correction. Come back up here, and why did I mark this? It's off the midline, but I don't think you would have had that midline just yet. It's not a oh, it is a failed second entry short. Okay, it's a failed second entry short off the midline. And that looks like an important level of support, but it's not a great signal bar, which doesn't matter so much with failures, but that also looks congestive. So I'm not too crazy about that. You get this correction here on a lower high, but that's just the first entry, and the failure comes right here, and that's too far from the EMA. And this channel just fizzles out to a new low. And then first entry, failed second entry, but it doesn't set up well. You might have considered that, but that's so congested. But I looked at this as a double bottom, all this congestion. So you get a first entry, failed second entry, and it's pretty clear at this point that, well, it's very clear at this point that we are we're moving higher. We're at least making higher lows. You can see this price level here looks like it might become important, but when we couldn't make it to the bottom of this trend channel, this potential trend channel here, I feel pretty confident. I think only thing here, me personally, I'd probably get too scared because these are very far from the EMA, and it's 3 dojis in a row. So, but that's clearly off the trend channel. That's what I like about it. And then we're just too far from the EMA. Come up here, hit the top of that trend channel, and at that point you should have your trend channel drawn, because this works off the midline too. So and that causes 2 legs of correction, and we formed this little range, and I drew the measured moves, and that looks like those are pretty important price levels. And we come to the bottom of the major trend channel, and this, I feel like this is one that I would get trapped at, and I feel like a lot of people probably got trapped here. But if you have these measured moves, maybe it would help you, the measured moves of this range. But you can see we get a really nice first, failed second entry. I mean, we did have a break of the channel, of this short-term channel. And these are dojis, so that's what I'm thinking is what could have helped you here, because as you see, you would have gotten trapped. Let's see, if you went on the engulfing bar, would you have gotten out? 61.75, 62.75. So most likely you are not going to have gotten out there. But this, once it goes lower, I mean, it didn't touch the EMA. That's another hint. I don't see what else. I mean, once this forms, I'd probably jump in there. But you might be nervous at that point because of this level of resistance. So there are some cons here, but with this trend up, and after it bounces off the trend channel like that, oof, that'd be tough to resist entering there. But that's why the EMA is your best friend. I mean, that has happened to me before, where it simply fails because it hasn't come back to the EMA. That's what looks like it happened here. But if you were patient, you get a first entry, second entry. Very nice. It's also a breakout pullback. And you get a first entry, second entry right after that. So, really good entries right there. Here we get a first entry, breaks lower, second entry. It's just not a great signal bar. And let's see, maybe people playing this channel. Yeah, people are most likely playing that channel. It's off the midline, so that might be a pro for you, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe you're expecting it to hit the top of that channel. Not too sure. And if you're feeling aggressive, this is counter trend right here, but you get a failed second entry long that sets up right here. And if you go on that engulfing bar, that's a really good entry. And if you don't want to pull the trigger there, you get this lower high. That's a better entry, and it might even have come before this one fills. 83.50. Oh no, you would have hit your target on this one first anyway. This is actually a second entry right here, so I'd probably take that, especially since it ticked higher here and went out the bottom. That's a second entry. I might be it might be wrong of me to mark that as red because we had a break of this channel and a move to a new low. But I don't know what maybe just on a day like today with the volatility, I'll go ahead and mark that green because it is counter trend. But anyway, we correct, and we break that major trend channel. I don't think you want to go short here. I mean, it's just the first entry anyway, but it does look kind of like a double test, but counter trend, not a great setup. So we get a break, and we start moving higher, and that's a first entry, failed second entry off the short-term trend channel. This one does not touch the EMA, but it's off the short-term trend channel. So you can see we go lower once, twice, and that probably traps a lot of shorts because they see this break and they think that we're going to go straight down or something. Picking tops. So we get this strong leg up, but then we also get a strong leg of correction. And you get a break, leg down. Maybe if that's not a break, we get an overshoot that leads to a break. I don't know, maybe. No, that's definitely a break. So we get a break and two legs down to a new low. And you get a first entry, second entry, and I like this entry. This looks like I feel like I should mark this one green as well. I do like this entry, but you're going counter trend still. We haven't made a new high of this channel yet. And this turns out to be a larger channel in itself. But anyway, so if you took that, I think that's not a terrible entry. Maybe Mack would disagree. You know what? Yeah, that's definitely aggressive because if you draw that, well, you don't. We did get a close outside and a move to a new high, but that's definitely aggressive. Better entry is right here. Second entry long, sets up beautifully. It's also an engulfing bar. It's not, your entry isn't too far away from the EMA. I think that's a great entry. We come up here and it just starts going sideways. Probably found some resistance at the previous trend line here, and this is just a leg of correction. We get a break, move to a new low, and yeah, we come in here. This is probably a failure, but that's just congestive, so not too sure about that one. And this is a pretty flat channel, but similar to the previous channel, you only get two touch. Well, you get it confirmed right here, and then it doesn't touch it. It doesn't come back to touch it. So we're just chopping on both sides here, so I don't see any good entries. Here you get a second entry long, but it's below the EMA, and we're just not sure what prices are doing at this point. Gonna move up. First entry, failed second entry long. Only reason I'm marking this red, and I'm going to keep this red, is because, first of all, this overshoot is crazy. We haven't come back to the EMA yet. And you have plenty of room to scalp out here. 625, 425, so that's 2 points of space. So I'm going to leave that there as red. We come down, we overshoot that, and eventually fizzles out to a break. Oof, this is pretty tempting right here. I didn't see these, but it's counter trend. I mean, we made a new high, so maybe I should mark this red. That's a second entry, and I really like the way that sets up after this pretty nice move down. And we did hit the top of this yellow channel. Would you have had that yet? Possibly off of this midline. And that's off the midline, so oof, I really... If you're seeing all that in real time, that's pretty convincing. That's much more convincing than the one I had marked right here, for sure. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to actually mark that red. I like that. But then we get this first entry, failed second entry short, and that's a really good move. I drew this channel off of those lows, and I think that is probably valid. This is a good setup. There's some dojis in there, but you got room to the highs, and that's a first fail. It's just clearly a failed second entry short. And this is just too congestive up here. Now we're too far from the EMA. Come up here, break this channel, you get a first entry, second entry long, room to the highs. So I like that for that reason. And looks like we have a channel working up. At this point, we know we have a channel working up, but this is very congestive. I didn't want to take a trade right here going into these highs. Looks too aggressive for me. And then we form this yellow range up here. Not sure if that's... And by the way, we're above the overnights at this point. And there's an upward bias to this range. You can see we made a new high here compared to right there. We're making higher lows. And when you get this, this is a failure. At this point, I didn't have the range drawn. It looks like the range is up here. And so this looks like a counter trend break. That's a failed second entry short. And it's testing this price level again. So I like this trade. But then once it comes down here, I was a little less convinced. I felt like, okay, especially since we made a matching high, I was like, maybe this is a bit too aggressive. But it is kind of looks like a second entry long, even though the count should reset because we had a matching high, but it's off this trend channel. So that's why I did mark it, and I left it marked. And you can see we get a break, goes counter trend, traps all the shorts, and then it rockets up. And that brought us in at 12:30, and you can see, you know, this might be a repeat of this trap right here. We might get another trap. So, yeah, this thing was crazy. Crazy downtrend yesterday, crazy uptrend today. And yeah, be aware of that daily chart. Oh, let's take a look at the trades I took. I was hopping in this range right here. Did I take both of those? So this was reckless. I shouldn't have taken this on the second entry long. Second entry long off of the midline. That's what I was doing. So definitely don't do that. Do not do that. You don't really have enough evidence to know that this is going for a scalp. This one, however, failed second entry short. Looks like a counter trend break. Testing this price level again. I think you can do that. And then this one, again, yeah, I think you can do that. It's just more aggressive. So that's what I saw for today. Hope everyone had a blessed day, and I will be back tomorrow.